legally blind and they have a volunteer who's helping them reconcile their checkbook and bank statement, or paying their bills, or helping them with banking visits. And so we just want to make sure that the people we serve, we call them neighbors. We want to make sure our neighbors are safe, but also that we're protecting our volunteers as well.
I also like the question that Glenn was posed about volunteers. So at our church, we don't have any paid employees there, so all of us are volunteers. So the way that we get more volunteers to serve in the community are from our members or even visitors. We recognize their gifts and whatever gifts they have or whatever talents, and we try to use those to help others in the community, such as those with the gift of administration or communication, serving, outreach, cooking, maybe in the kitchen, or cares. We use those gifts and talents to be able to serve in that capacity.
Okay, I have a question. The city of Prescott hired a consultant to do what they call workforce housing survey. He reported back to the city that if a person was making $60,000 a year, they should spend no more than a quarter of their income on housing, which means that they could only pay $1,600 a month on housing. Since we have all of you here, do you have any suggestions or ideas about how a person who is working as a server in this community is going to be able to afford $1,600 a month for housing?
You know, that's part of the reason we're here. We see it every day, and there is no great answer for it, quite frankly. One of the things is she has second chance, and we have transitional housing, which essentially sounds like the exact same thing, just named differently. For that, that's kind of a medium fix, right? For us, it's not a long term. It can be. I mean, we've had people in there 2 years, but that's not really what the plan is. The plan is a 6-month time frame. You know, during that 6-month time, they're still receiving case management, so it comes down to financial ability. You know, there's not a lot we can do about the housing crisis right now. I mean, I wish we had an answer for it. I know I don't. But I can tell you what PASS is doing is resources, and throwing as much as we can at our guests. And with that, like I said, we are at an 81% success ratio. Quite frankly, a lot of our guests do move out of town, they move further out to Dewey, they move to Prescott Valley, they won't necessarily be in Prescott. And we encourage them, if that's what you can do in your family situation, if your work situation allows you to do that, then more power to you. One of the things that PASS does as well is we do assist with them getting into a new apartment, a new home, with rental assistance for them to move in. $1,000 for a family and $500 for an individual. At least that's a start. So that's pretty much what I got. I mean, I wish there was a great answer for this, but right now, the way things are, it's a little challenging, for sure.
I don't have a solution to that question. I'm just aware I've been involved in the public housing survey in Prescott Valley, where I'm a resident. Both the city of Prescott and the town of Prescott Valley received $200,000 grants from the Arizona Department of Housing in order to survey all their neighborhoods, look to see what type of housing they offer. There were surveys, I think the city of Prescott, is their survey still online? Or is it? In Prescott Valley, our survey ended March 31st. It was open, I think, January, February, March. And they had consultants their report just came out and determined that there was a lack of housing for first responders, teachers, firefighters, police officers, also low-income housing. What we've encountered at People Who Care is we've had neighbors who could no longer drive, who live in subsidized housing apartments, both in Prescott and Prescott Valley, that have gone up for sale. They were purchased by California investors who then wanted to renovate the apartment complexes and up the rents so that our neighbors who needed to be able to live there in a subsidized housing situation were given notice that they were going to have to move to find other alternative housing because the rents were going to go up and their Social Security was not going to be able to cover the increase in the rent. So it is a very difficult, challenging situation because we've actually had to help our neighbors with trying to find other resources to help them.
All right, I'm going to try to keep this brief because, for the record, I did go and interview to be on the Workforce Housing Committee. I was not chosen. I don't know why. Actually, the town of Prescott Valley, I was part of creating their attainable housing. I was on their attainable housing task force, so we do have a report that does have a plan. Unfortunately, with the change of leadership in Prescott Valley, that report may be null and void at this point. But so a couple of things. When we talk about affordable housing, you were asking what the solution is for a server who is making less than 60 or even 60,000, and the answer to that is they're staying in our shelters. Those are folks that are staying in our shelters. And that is that missing middle demographic that I was talking about before, which is they make too much money for government assistance. The solution to that is twofold, in my opinion. One, in order to keep affordable housing truly affordable, you either have to have an apartment complex that has a low-income housing tax credit, which means they get money back from the government. The problem with that is those contracts end, and then they do not re-up the low-income housing tax credit because they can now remodel the apartments and they can charge over fair market rate for those apartments. So while that system is great, there is a loophole, and then that affordable housing is no longer affordable when that tax credit expires. The other thing is we can ask developers who are coming in and making a lot of money on housing if they would be willing to not make $1 million on this project and maybe only make $950,000 on a project. That's probably the hardest sell, right? Because the whole point of for-profit business is to do exactly that, be for-profit. So while that could be affordable housing for a short period of time, it's not really going to last as affordable housing. In my opinion, which again is only my opinion, one of the answers to this issue is partnering with nonprofits. The town of Prescott Valley and the city of Prescott spent $200,000 on a consultant, which I worked with both of them on their reports, and their reports were beautiful. But if you would have asked community leaders who live this story every single day, we could have told you exactly the same thing. And I would have only charged you $199,000 for my services. Right, so partnering with nonprofits is how you're going to keep affordable housing affordable. I'm developing permanent affordable housing. I'm not buying a second boat, I'm not even buying a first boat. And that's the whole point of nonprofits, is if we can get a partnership between local government, developers, and nonprofits, we can all work together where the developer is still gonna get paid, and they're still gonna make money, and the nonprofit that can be the nonprofit's community, or that could be a project of the nonprofit, and we're not going to we'll pass on the normal, wear and tear of the units and things like that onto the tenants, but we're not trying to get rich off of it. And I truly believe that that is the only way that you develop true affordable housing. And I know that this wasn't about affordable housing, but when we look at the folks that can't find affordable housing, They have professions that are more than a firefighter, police officer, teacher, and nurse. The 4 big firefighter, police officer, teachers, and nurse workforces are absolutely important. The fact that those 4 workforces cannot find affordable housing is absolutely not an affordable housing issue. That is 100% a wage issue.
Yeah.
So when I hear, oh, we're developing affordable housing for the big 4 workforces, I go, okay, that's fantastic. They should be being paid more. But what happens when the rodeo comes in town and now you need people to be servers, bartenders, housekeepers, work in grocery stores and make your coffee in the morning? Those are the folks that are not able to find affordable housing. So